Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So we will wait for another 2 minutes so that we can get more participants and then we will join. Then we will start. Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today in session with Sumit, we have a very special guest with us, and we will let me first of all introduce you to Mr. Aditya Chakaravarthy. So he is currently working as a performance analyst for Punjab Football Club, and before that he was with Indian hockey team for more than 5 years. Now, with the time when he was with the hockey team has achieved a lot of good memories and a lot of good achievements. So he was like the part of the team when Indian hockey team won the 2017 Asia Cup and at Dhaka, and in his in when he was the part he the Indian hockey team was able to achieve the best rank, which was rank 4, and previously the rank was rank 13. So in this particular session we will try to better understand how all this thing happened, and how, like, what are the various sectors in performance analysis, and how data is being used in this particular sports. So welcome, Mr. Aditya.
Hi, Sumit. Thanks for having me here, and good evening to everyone.
Yes. So my first question to you is, like, first of all, I want you to introduce yourself to everyone, because like, even I don't know much about you right now. So you have been from Chennai, and then you moved on to Lockberg University to do your masters in biomechanics, and then you joined sports mechanics. Then you moved on to Hockey India. Then you moved on to Punjab Football Club. So it has been a quite a good journey for you in sports. So we just wanted to know more about this, and were you also a good like player in your teenage, or so how this interest came from, like how everything happened?
Uh, so to start, Sumit, I'm basically from Chennai, but then I did all my schooling from Delhi. And then after that, I moved to Chennai for my undergrad. And while all my friends were getting placed in IT companies, that was one part that I didn't want to take. So I wanted to uh, do something different. I went for my higher studies, and sports biomechanics was something that was very close to my undergrad and something that interested me because it was related to sports. and I chose Loughborough University for my masters. And then while I finished my masters, I started working with the Loughborough Men's Hockey Club. It just so happened that uh, I applied for Loughborough football and Loughborough hockey, and Loughborough hockey replied that they had a vacancy, and I joined their team as an analyst. And then from there, I got an opportunity to work with the England under 21 squad. And then after that, in 2013, I moved back to India, and I was part of the national team since then. Uh, and I recently left the team in September 2019, so it's been a year now. So I was part of them for about 5.5 years, and I'm working in football. Just that I wanted a new challenge.
Okay. So, Aditya, sir, first of all, we all wanted to understand what is performance analysis, uh, what are the various responsibilities that you take care of, and how important is performance analysis and sports analytics as a part for a particular team, because this particular thing has not got a so much importance in recent time. Like, it has gained the importance in recent time, but before, when you started, I don't think it was so much popular. But so how these things are associated with sports, and what you do in this particular as a part of performance analysis?
Talking 10 years back, so it's been nearly 10 years I've been in performance analytics and sports now. So talking 10 years back, sports was played, and was played as a passion for people. But then over time, sports has gotten very serious. So people have started taking sports as profession, and that's where the professionality comes in. We call players the professionals, and also the other roles that are associated with the players, be it a coach, be it an SNC coach, or a physiotherapist, or an analyst. These are some of the professions that has gotten associated with sports, and uh, the teams do require professionals to do the job. So, for example, now that IPL is going on, you would watch this show called Select Dugout on Star Sports, I think. Um, and then there are some of the other shows on ESPN, Cricket Info, and all that. So where they provide stats. So, for example, how many games have been played on Sharjah pitch, and which team scored the most runs? Was it the batting team batting first, or was it the team batting second? Or what type of player becomes successful on that pitch? Is it a spinner or a fast bowler? Everyone talks about these numbers, but who collects these numbers? Who crunches these numbers? It's certainly not the coach, because coach's role is to coach the team. It's basically what he tries to do is improve the techniques and tactics of the gameplay of the players, and then these informations are fed by an analyst who studies every player in your team. He studies every opponent that you're going to face, every venue, uh, and with respect to sports, it changes. The requirement of each sport changes.
Okay. So like when I talk about performance analysis or sports analytics, there is a part of analysis that is done during the match. There's a part of analysis that is done before or after the match. So how these things are done, like what are the things you take care before the match, and what are the various things that you take care after the match?
Okay, so this is a very interesting question, because I certainly consider that the most hardworking person in a team is an analyst, because what he does is his role is 24/7. Whether you're playing a game or not, he's always working for the team. So there are different phases to game preparation, or analysis per se. So the analysis can be split between pre-game analysis or pre-tournament analysis, and then there is in-time analysis, which is during the game, and then there is post-match analysis. And each role, each period has got its own importance. So pre-match analysis, you are basically trying to do a SWOT analysis where you're trying to understand the strength, weakness, opportunities, and targets of the opponents, where you can hurt them, or what is their strengths that you have to be wary of. So you're breaking down every information that is available, and then providing it on a plate to your team, saying if you do this, 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 you have higher chances of success. So that's what happens in pre-match analysis. And talking from my hockey and football experience, during the match, what I used to do was, while the game is going on, I used to be uh, breaking down the game. I used to code during the game, and then while the game is going on, I would send the match stats, live match stats, and video clips to the bench. So, for example, if there is a penalty, so in hockey, with respect to the formations and field play, you may not be able to change much during the game. So that is something that we determine before the game, that this is the opponent that we're going to play, and this is the structure we're going to play, and this will be our playing style, and so on. But then what you can actually change or affect during a game is a penalty corner. So, for example, nearly 37% of the goals in international hockey is scored from a penalty corner. So it becomes very important that we pay a lot of attention to that. So during the game, what I would do is I would feed that information to the bench so that the coaches and the drag flickers or the defenders, they can have a look what are the areas that they can exploit and where they can score. And then post match is basically I put a lot of importance on how we have performed, because before the game we give them a certain set of information saying this is what we need to do. So post game, eventually it becomes how well have we done that, and then so that post match analysis would just would basically sit and uh, analyze what went well and what needs to improve, and then it leads on to the pre-match preparation for the next game.
Okay, okay. So you just talked about analyzing the performance of a player post match and making improvements. So if I talk about the selection of a player, is that also dependent on these results or these stats? So let's say the team is going to face, let's say, Australia in the next match. So how this how a coach and how a performance analyst, how they break down the selection procedure? So were the performance analyst also involved in the selection procedure?
Yes. So what happens is, with respect to hockey, you basically go into an international tournament with a squad of 18 members. So you can't pick and choose because all the 18 members end up playing in a game. So the selection happens before you even leave for the tournament, while the squad selection happens. So in that, what we used to do is, during the training session, we'll have a lot of drills that we would play. We would ask the players to play in, be it drag flick or defense and so on. So we would collect data for everything, and then also we'll have practice games where the data is again collected, and also based on where we are going to play and who we are going to play, the selection of players varies. So, for example, in IPL today, for example, if a pitch helps batsmen, it's very obvious that you would go for a strong batting lineup supported by a decent bowling lineup. So all these selections happens on the basis of analytics. Uh, to a certain extent. I wouldn't say it's 100% analytics, because also in a sports like cricket, a lot of the selection also happens with respect to the coaches and their gut feel, and also the captain. Uh, but yeah, there are certain players. For example, if you're going to play a test match in Pakistan, you would not leave Virendra Sehwag out, because you would know that whenever he goes and plays on that venue, he would definitely score big. So you would make sure that you would go check um, what venue we are playing, and also who the opponent is. So throughout the year, the analysis also includes the analysis of the opponent. So if a player, for example, like Chris Gale, who is very vulnerable to Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, he gets out every time he bowls at him. if Bhuvneshwar Kumar is playing, I may not even pick Chris Gale, or I may put him to bat, asking him to play easy on Bhuvneshwar Kumar and take on the other bowlers. So it all depends on the analysis.
Okay. Now, Aditya, I wanted to know in depth about this performance analysis. So, first of all, I wanted to know about what are the tools and the softwares that you use to conduct all these analyses.
Okay, so so it depends what sport you want to do. For example, if it's cricket, there's already data, a lot of data that is available on the websites. So you can just download the data and then you can put it into use. You can use different programming languages, and you can use visualization tools to build your viz, or even do some analytics and get something out. But then sports like football and hockey, at least in India, the data is not available to such an extent. So basically, the data collection, the role of an analyst also involves data collection. So this is where some of the tools come into play. So the requirement of an analyst would be a software that basically captures the game video. At the same time, it provides you a tool that breaks the game down into stats, or stats and also different video segments. So, for example, at the end of the game, if I want to watch just the goals in a game, I need not sit and watch throughout the game and I only watch the goals. Similarly, in cricket, let's say if I want to watch just the balls that the batsman misses just outside off stump, I need not sit and watch 15 or 20 overs of the game to ascertain that. So that's the role of an analyst, where he breaks it down. And there are a lot of software that are available in the market that you can make use of. There is something called as Longer Match, and there is Huddle, Sports Code, Max Sport. There's a lot of softwares available in the market. Some of them are free to use, and some of them you have to shell out a big amount. But then uh, when I say free to use software, they have got their own restrictions because it is free.
Okay, okay. So, Aditya, you talked about the video analysis part. Now, how important is video analysis uh, during the match or post the match? Like, what is video analysis? Like, what is this field consist of?
Okay, so what I would like to mention here is analysis has moved on from video analysis in the present times. So if it was about video analysis, we are talking 7 years back or 6 years back. So video analysis is basically, for example, if you score a goal in a game, or an opponent scores a goal against you, you watch the video and you find out what is the mistake that's happened, or how is that the goal has been scored. What were the moves, what was the structure, where was the defender, where was the open space. So you basically watch it with your naked eye, and then you give the inputs. So that is what was video analysis. And when we say video analysis, a lot of the decisions were made using because of your gut instinct. So, for example, if I'm a coach of a team, and my analyst tells me that X player is not performing well and we should not take him to the tournament, as a coach, I may think, you know what, uh, the X player was a great player. He scored so many runs in the past. I think he will click again. Let's take him. So there was a lot of favoritism and gut instinct that was involved while making decisions in using video analysis. But then in the present times, what has definitely helped is the data part of it, the data analytics part of it. So basically, with video analysis, you can get rid of some of the video content and say uh, that it's not there. But then with data analytics, you cannot miss. You call a spade a spade. So with data analytics, what happens is I need not even watch the full game. I only look at the chart of the numbers that I have, and if I have to pick, uh, for example, a batsman is weak when the ball is pitched in the good length area just outside off stump, for example. So all I need to see is that number. For example, Sumit Shukla is batting. How many times has he missed the ball which has been pitched just outside off stump? How many dot balls? How many swing and a miss? And how many close calls and so on. So I only look at those numbers. And once I ascertain from the numbers that, okay, so I see a trend here, I see a pattern here, I can then go look at the videos and just confirm that, okay, so my analysis is good. So it basically supports my analysis. So it's
Okay.
definitely important. So data analytics, I would say, so I don't think anyone calls them video analysts in the present times. So it's moved on to a role called performance analyst, where they make use of data and video equally, if not more.
Okay. Okay. So, Aditya, um, now, like I wanted to better understand. You are currently working with the football team. You were the part of hockey team. You also have a good idea of cricket also. Now, as a performance analyst, changing these fields, changing the complete game, how difficult it is. Like, do you need to have a very good background of the a game also in which you are working as a performance analyst, or it is just simple to just take a switch from one game to another game?
Very good question, Sumit. What I would like the listeners to focus on this part. Uh, for a business analyst to get into sports and be a sports analyst is not a straightforward way. A lot of people send me messages. They ask me that I'm a business analyst or I'm an analyst in an IT firm. I'd like to get into sports analytics because sports is my passion. Because I used to play sports when I was a kid. It's my passion, blah, blah, blah. So, what I would like to advise is it is very important that you put your passion aside and you put your career aside. So this is the toughest part that people come to where they are not able to decide. Because what happens is a lot of us have played sports when we were kids. And the joy of playing a sport or watching a sport is something that is unmatchable. So what happens is people get a bit emotionally carried away and they think it's passion. So in a population of 1.3 billion, I think there will be less than 5% of people who would say that they don't like playing something. But then we don't have a billion analysts here in sports. So this is something that I made. This decision is something that I took a long time back. That I made sure that I'm getting into the sports field, and it's not going to be easy. I will have to invest a lot of time and energy, and I won't get rewarded uh, the same amount as my fellow uh, classmates would. So, for example, 4 years after my master's, my friends from my undergrad who were placed in IT companies, they were all getting handsome salary. And then every time they talked to me, I used to sulk a bit that I'm not getting paid as much as you guys are doing. But then I knew what my path was. I wanted to be a sports analyst. And coming back to your question, so first thing is don't confuse yourself with your passion of watching and playing sports and then working in sports. It's completely two different things. It's like me liking computer, working on computer, and then working in an IT industry. It's totally different. So sports nowadays is a profession. So you only get into it if you're 100% committed. So coming back to your question, it is very important that you know the sport inside out. You have to know every single detail of the sport. So now, uh, just to give you an example, the only sport that I've ever played in my life, and I still love playing the sport, is cricket. I have never played any other sport. But then I have worked in hockey and I've worked in football. So how did that happen? So to be a part of a hockey team, I knew that I have to understand the game better. What are the nuances? What are the intricate details that has to be understood? So the first thing that would come is the games, the rules of the game. And then the second is, as an analyst, you'll have influence of coaches. You'll have three coaches working in a team. For example, you'll have a head coach, and then you'll have an assistant coach. You'll have a goalkeeping coach. You'll be having a drag flicking coach, and so on. Just like in cricket, you'll have you'll have a head coach, batting coach, fielding coach, bowling coach, I don't know, mentor, and so on. And you'll have their influences. What you have to do as an analyst is you just pick the information from them and learn it, but then you have to have your own eye for detail. So what I do when I present my data set to coaches, I go completely unbiased, because with data you cannot lie. With videos I can lie. I can say, for example, if in 10 videos there are uh, let's say 6 clips where the player has done very bad, and there are 4 clips where the player has done very well. What I can do is I can delete those 6 clips, and I can just say this player has done very well, and there are only 4 videos. But then with data, you cannot go wrong. So I just present the whole platter to them, and with the data, I build a story. So it's very important that you understand, because when an analyst using the number, when he builds the story, unless you know the sport, you won't be able to present what the coaches want or what the team wants. So just an example. Um, if I have to say, a famous football coach said the data analytics doesn't work for me. Um, it's like two guys going into one room with a fruit and then coming out without the fruit. So the data would say that both the people had half the fruit. But then if you don't understand the data better, you won't be able to explain. So this is where you have to understand the sport very, very well, and then you should be able to build a story, and you need to see what is that your data is interpreting.
Okay. So, Aditya, coming back to the tools point, I will just come back to it. So there are some questions over the chat section. Now, let's say a person is so much serious about the sport, and currently the person is, let's say, working as a analyst at some company. He is currently using R and Python. Currently, the most famous two statistical language, I would say.
Mhm.
So do a person working as a analyst working with Python and R currently, do he or she needs to learn some new language to just to get into this field, or is that information is okay to make a switch?
No, so what is more important is understanding the sports atmosphere, sports environment. Uh, so how do I put it? So what needs to happen is, if you know Python and R, you are like 70% sorted. Yeah, you can build visualizations, you can come up with trends and patterns, which is fantastic. But then the other rest 30% part is the data collection. So you should know how to collect the data. For that, there are certain tools which I mentioned. So for example, there's a tool called Sports Code, Huddle Sports Code, in the market. It's a paid software. It's super expensive, but then it's the best software in the market. It costs you a lot. And then there is something called as Naxport, and then there are other softwares like um, Longo Match, for example. So what these softwares do, they are not like Python or R. So these software are basically sport-specific software which break down the game into simpler data sets. So you can go into, for example, let's say a right arm bowler bowls to a right-handed batsman. So what this software would do is, when I use this software, I would have specific coded segments within the software. So every button will represent a certain action on the field. So for example, a right hand, so in this current situation, what will happen is, how I will break this sequence down is, for example, is the first ball of the first over. So that itself is a data point for me. And then right arm fast bowler from over the wicket. That's another data point for me. And then the third data point is he a fast bowler or is he a medium pace bowler? Is he a pace bowler? And so on. So now that's a data point for me. So now if he bowls a ball, where does he pitch it? On the pitch? Is it a short of length? Is it a bouncer? Or is it, let's say, a good length ball? Is it a Yorker? So now that. And then where, in which line does he pitch the ball on the pitch? So now that is it closer to the off stump, or is it towards the leg stump, or is it wide of the off stump? And then what happens? Does the batsman play the ball? If he does, where does he play the ball? Does he play it to mid off, or does he play it to point, or does he miss? If he misses, where did the ball race to? Was it towards his? Was it closer to the stumps, or was it about his hip, waist high, or what was it? So all these are data points for me. So what these softwares do is they break the game into these simpler data points, and then you put them into Python and R. Once you have a massive data set, that's when you can work with Python and R and other software. So these tools that I'm talking about are data collection software. You can even do it using an Excel sheet, but then it'll be a super hard task for you. So there are software available in the market that basically just breaks it down. You have to make it, you have to customize it to your requirements.
Okay. So what I've understood, it's basically, if I wanted to get into this field, it's better that I have the knowledge of R and Python. That's a good part for me, and rest 30% part is when I enter into that field. Is that right, sir?
Yes, but then that 30% part is the most important part. So I would say first you know the sport, and then you know how to break down the sport.
Okay.
So once you know this, then you can go, because what you have to understand is your audience as well. Yeah. So I can present something in Python and R, and I can take it to a under 13 boy. How much would he understand?
Hmm.
So this is where the distinction has to be made as to how you would use an analysis. So for example, someone asked me a question a few days back. How does the analysis vary based on the age group of the athlete? So when it comes to under 11 or under 12 years of athlete, I would only go with video analysis. And now when I'm dealing with under 14 range of athletes, I would put in some 20% of data, 80% of video analysis, because that's the age where you want them to understand the tactics. You want them to understand the game. In that point of time, if I go and give them a big sheet that this is your performance of the year, first thing, a first human instinct or a first player instinct is they only look at their negatives. So when you say this is your analysis, a 13-year-old will go and see, oh, what are the mistakes that I did? So that is something that we have to understand. So then moving on from under 14s, by the time they reach under 18s, I would have 40% data analysis and then 60% video analysis. And then once they get into the senior level, when they start playing professional sport, that's when I would go 50-50. So there's a balance of data and video analysis. Because if the players lose interest in the game just by looking at the numbers, well, you're not going to get the results that you want.
Okay, got your point. So, Aditya, now I wanted to understand about the opportunities. So, currently in India, since I was also involved in sport for when I started working in this field, like when I started working as a data analyst, and before that, I was looking for the opportunity in and around India. So there were very less number of companies those who were actually working in this field, like if I just name some of them: sports mechanics, sports lens, sports sports KPI, Kadamba Sports, and these were the some companies that are currently working in this field now. uh, if I am looking to work on these companies, like how should I approach them and how should I apply? Because when I refer to my time when I was looking for this particular opportunity to work in these companies, it I found it very hard. Like reaching out to the people was very hard. Now why this is happening, why this is happening, or maybe why these companies are not hiring in as the same pace as other IT companies are hiring, and how difficult it is to get into these companies, or maybe how to whom I should approach.
A lot of times, what happens is, we look for solutions far away. Sometimes the solutions are available right next to you. So I'll give you my example. When I started looking for jobs straight after my masters, I applied everywhere. I applied everywhere, and I got a lot of rejections. And then I was thinking, I'm sitting in middle of UK, and I am at Loughborough University, which is rank one in sports in UK. Let's just try here. And they had a vacancy. So what happens is people are only looking for these companies, but then the companies also will only look for people who are a bit more experienced. Yeah, because end of the day, it's their investment as well. And because the sports is getting professional, they will also want to hire professionals onto their teams. So what I would suggest young people who don't have the experience of performance analytics, what I would like them to look for is go around. There'll be some sort of clubs around you at some decent level. Uh, I know a lot of people in Mumbai. There's so many football clubs. You just go and ask them, or is there a position vacant for performance analyst? They may say no, but then ask them, do you already have a performance analyst? And if they say yes, I think that's the best opportunity for you. If they have an analyst, then you say, okay, you know what? You don't have to even pay me. I would just come help you out. So you work with the analyst, learn the trade, because this is a field which is not being taught in any of the classrooms. At least for now, it's not being taught in any of the classrooms. It's still a very niche category of work, job market. So what I would suggest is you go approach uh, some of the big clubs around you. If they already have an analyst, you say, okay, you know what, I would voluntarily, I'll work for you, or even work shadow is something that is not considered much in India, but then it's a big thing in UK. So what happens is, I am an analyst, and then you want to work shadow me, so you would just basically work with me. So you would learn from me. You won't get paid anything, but then you will learn a lot of knowledge. You'll gain a lot of knowledge as to how things happen in sports. And then after that, you never know. Tomorrow, the same club may have an opportunity. Or with this experience, if you have a certificate, you can just take it to these companies that you're already trying. And these companies then may be willing to take you on board because you already have some prior knowledge, and you've invested your time. If I am hiring someone, I would really appreciate someone having that experience, or someone who's put in that effort, and I would take him on board. So I think that's one approach that people can consider.
Okay. So basically means it's not a cakewalk. It's a very difficult path.
I think nothing's a cakewalk. I think, Sumit, even when you started working in data analytics, okay, without prior experience, if you just went to a company and said, you know what, I want to be a data analyst, they'll be like, okay, what's your profile? But then your profile is not from data analytics. How would you be a data analyst? So I think the same logic applies here. You have to have, at least, if you don't know the working knowledge, at least you should know what is going on in the field, or how things are done.
Okay. So, Aditya, you did your master's in this sports biomechanics. Uh, was that a very important part, or you just wanted to have a master degree? So, my question is basically, if I'm very much serious about sports and I'm trying to get into this field within India,
Mhm.
how important is to get a master, or maybe how important is to get a proper certificate, or maybe proper a degree uh, with the sports.
Um, how I would like to answer this question is, I am of a belief that you learn more at work than in a classroom. I think you would also agree that you would have learned more working than what you learned in your undergrad or master's course. In a classroom, you'll only learn what is being taught. But then when you're actually working, you'll face a lot of problems. And that's where you would learn more. You'll face different challenges, you would face different situations, and that's where you would learn more. It's always, I would say that before you go into masters, it's good to have uh, a working knowledge of whatever you're going to do masters in, because then it should not be, it should not just be a degree that you have in bag. What you have to do is basically understand that what is that you're getting into. It could even be that 6 months down the line, you may feel, you know what, sports analytics doesn't uh, interest me. So it's better while you're working, you figure this out rather than spending, I don't know, lakhs and lakhs, and then you figure out after 2 years that, you know what, no, this is not working for me. Then you're already, you're not happy. At the same time, you're a few bucks down as well. So I would say if you want to do a master's in something, let's say in sports analytics, for example, I'm not sure if many universities offer that degree presently in India, but I would say that at least work for a year and find out if this is the field that you really want to be in.
Okay, got it. So, Aditya, now coming to like we talked about the education institutes, and there are no like there are not many institutes in India those who are actually offering these kind of knowledge. Now, let's say I decently wanted to learn something. Let's say I'm very much serious about it. So, do we have some institute in India that actually offers these kind of degree or certificates?
Uh, I think it just loops back to the same point again. So let's say if I wanted to be a mechanical engineer and I have a degree in mechanical engineering from IIT, it holds some value. But then sports analytics is so new that having a degree in sports analytics and then going and presenting it anywhere has lesser value than me saying that I've worked with football for 5 years. For example, you may say that I have an undergraduate degree in sports analysis, which is a 4 years course, and then another candidate turns up who says that I've worked in the field for 4 years. So I would rather hire the guy who's worked for 4 years than the guy who's done the uh, course for 4 years. But then I think a lot of the listeners will also agree to this point that once this COVID situation happened, you would see on LinkedIn a lot of people are posting a lot of their certificates. A lot of them are doing short courses and posting their certificates. So I'm sitting here and thinking, why not do this? All these young professionals who want to get into sports analytics don't sit and wait to do a course from a university. It may be that there are short courses somewhere on sports analytics that gives you an insight into how things work in sports, how analytics works in sports. So that way you're not investing the humongous amount that you'd invest in a university. At the same time, you have a certificate that gives you a bit of a piece that, you know what, I have something to back my career, and you have a working knowledge in the field of sports from that course. At least you can use that knowledge and then apply it to some of the local clubs that you have. And if you feel, you know what, now you want to raise your bar, then you can go to the next challenge. You can start with a local local football club that play, for example, in Mumbai. Let's say there's a football club that plays Mumbai League. You go and help the team progress, and if you feel that you've made the difference, then you go next. You say, you know what, I want to compete at Indian level. So I want to get into a club that uh, plays in I League, and then you get into ISL, then you get into the Indian team, then you look for something abroad. So you have to test yourself. Don't wait on courses. Just work, and you'll have more knowledge.
Okay. So, Aditya, now I wanted to know some of the challenge project that you have done. Like you have been the part of Indian hockey team for a more than 5.5 years. So you must have faced a lot of challenging experiences. um, we India also won the Asia Cup under your leadership. So, do you have anything to share with us, like which was very much which was very much difficult for you to crack down, and it was a very hectic situation for you? And
Uh, Good question. I did face a lot of challenges, but then these were challenges because of the um how do I say uh, because of the level, not because of any difficulty. You know, because with the national team, I would say more than the Asia Cup, there were bigger challenges. For example, 2014 Asian Games in Korea, India had to win a gold medal to qualify for Rio Olympics in 2016. And what happened is 2010 um, Olympics, was it Olympics 2014 2010, yeah, 2010 Olympics, oh no, 2012 Olympics, India didn't qualify because of winning Asian Games. The 2010 Asian Games, India didn't win, so they had to go through the harder route of qualifying for Olympics. But then in 2014 Asian Games, we had to win the tournament so that we get direct entry into the Olympics. So now the challenge was we ended up facing Pakistan in the finals. And now when you're Indian here, I'm not talking about any political rivalry, but then when sporting rivalry itself, you know, you when you see in Asia, the giants are India and Pakistan in hockey. Yeah, so the challenge was that you uh, have to somehow win this game. And what happened was during the game they scored the goal first, and then Pakistan just put their players down to defend the goal. So they just basically put the wall, and then somewhere around 5 minutes before the end of the game, we ended up scoring. So now when the full time came, the score was 1-1, and then the game went to shootouts. So now it would have been a difficult challenge for me if I had no clue about the shootouts. But then what happened was the training camps before, not just one camp, the whole year, we practiced shootouts in the training camps. We had a database of more than 400 shootouts that we practiced. So one thing that I knew was who was going to take the shootout. If we get into a shootout situation, who are the best five players who would take the shootouts for me, and who will be the goalkeeper in the goal. And what helped us was uh, in the semi-finals, Pakistan played Malaysia, and their game went into shootouts. So now it played in our advantage because we studied the Pakistan goalkeeper. So we watched those shootouts. We created a database of what is his weakness, what is his strengths, and then once the game went to the shootouts in the finals, I was rest assured that we are going to win this because we have done the homework. Yeah. So and then the result just happened. We won the game. We qualified directly for the Rio Olympics. Um, so that happened. So this is where the data played a key role because we were well informed. But then what the listeners have to understand is this is sports. This is not raw data like business analytics where 1 plus 1 is 2. This is sports and there is human intervention. You have humans on the field and humans can make mistakes. So there are certain cases where the data will give you an indication that this is what we need to do, but then there are times when the players do completely opposite of what can happen. So I can give you an example of 2018. I think this was World Hockey League's finals, and we were playing for the bronze medal game, and we were meant to play Germany. And Germans are known for their defense. They are the toughest nut to crack in football and hockey. And what happened was just on the day of the game, a lot of German players started to feel sick because of the food that they had a day before. And now, by the time the game started, the German team only had 11 players. They had zero substitutes. They had their second goalkeeper who was playing the striker. And here on the other side, we had the full squad, full Indian squad, 18 members, who are top class in the world. So now on paper, with respect to the stats, you would know that Indian team will win this. Easy, hands-on, Indian team should win this. But then, because the build-up was going on throughout the day, there's something called a psychology when humans are involved, and we made it very hard for us. We went 1-1, and then towards the end of the game, we scored again and we won the game. So though the stats may say that India should win, and we did win, but then if you watch the game, it may not be the simple route. So this is where that people have to understand that numbers always help, but then there is also players involved. So you have to take a back step and observe.
Okay. So, Aditya, I think we have discussed a lot of questions, and now I just wanted to pick up some questions from our viewers. So, I think I have taken. Let me check it. Okay, so one question is from Jay. He is asking, is analysis continuously happen even during the game?
Yes, it does. So this is where I gave an example of what we used to do in hockey. I would feed live stats and live video to the bench of penalty corners or goals that we score or goals that we concede, so that we may not be able to make any tactical changes, but then we can make changes in the penalty corner routine, which gives us more chances to score. So
Okay,
live analysis does happen during a game.
okay. Next question is from Madhav. He's asking how much would it be easier for someone who has played professional sport and also has a data science knowledge?
I think you've got the best of both the worlds. I think if you played the sport and that's the sport you want to get into, and you also know data analytics, I think it's just about time that you jump into it and start working.
Okay. So I don't think we are left with any other question. Have you tried using analysis to win a fantasy league? Okay, some different question. What analytics tool? So Shayad, we have already discussed about this. You may look at the recording after this session. Let's get the point straightforward. How to pay compared? Okay. So Manan is trying to ask about the pay scale and this sports analytics job.
Well, I would say you're paid based on your experience. I think even in today's IT industry, a fresher would get something like 10,000 to 15,000 rupees a month. But then if he works for 10 years, he would get more. So I think it's very similar. And I would say that if this is the field that you really want to get into, then you should not even be thinking about the pay. Because if I thought about it 10 years back, I would not be sitting here and talking to you. I would be, I don't know, in an IT company, working 18 hours a day, or here I work longer, but then I'm happy doing it.
Okay. So, Aditya, I think we are almost done now. Now, I leave you with your final words if you have anything to share with our viewers. And still, we are getting some questions, but I think we can close this now, right now. So,
Well, if you have any interesting questions, you can always shoot, no problem.
okay. So, Aditya Mukherjee is asking, with team selection, is it about selecting best player according to the data or the best team composition according to team data?
What's the difference?
So
I'm not
he's
able
asked,
to.
yeah, he's asking, is it about selecting the players or is it about selecting the complete team? So like, if you are going to play some opponent, you will
Okay,
be
I think I sort of get the answer, get the question. So for example, a batting pitch. If there is a pitch that supports batting, you're asking me, should I take 11 best batsmen or should I take the best combination? I think the answer is you take the best combination. I may have 11 best batsmen, and you put 350 runs on board in 30 overs, but then you don't have the bowlers to defend that score, and then you just get chased down. So basically, when you pick a team, you pick the best 11, which helps every department.
Okay. Harsh is asking, do you work directly for a team or does the team hires a company?
I work directly for the team. I used to work for a company that used to work with the national team, but now I've moved on. I work directly for the team.
Okay. So, guys, is there any other question? Like, we are reaching to the end of this session. I will just wait for another 5 minutes. If you guys have any question, we can take it up. Else, we can close this. Okay. So, Madhav is asking, I have seen about your MSc project at Lauberg University, which involves ball tracking and bowling action tracking. Can you explain more in depth what's that?
Okay, so this was something. So this was in 2010, as part of my dissertation. What we did was we studied the spin bowlers from the England and Wales Cricket Board, and we studied their action just to figure out what are the factors that helps them generate more spin on the ball. We used a lot of data. So the data collection was done using light reflective markers on the body of the bowler, and then there's a camera system called as Vicon. So we had a lab facility where about 21 cameras were rigged, and they would basically emit they would emit infrared rays, and these rays would then fall on these light reflective markers on the joint segments of the bowler, and then this reflected light would then go back into the camera, and then we have a system where we would have the 3D model of the bowler. So now what we use something called a trachometer, which would basically tell us the trajectory of the ball and the speed of the ball and the spin that is generated on the ball. And then this Vicon, what this will give us is uh, the angles of the joint segments when the ball is bowled. So then it's just basically we were trying to find out in what optimal position is the most amount of spin generated, be it off spinner or rest spinner. So that's in a nutshell.
Okay, so Madhav has a follow-up question. He's asking sensor data or a visual data. So, was the data collected by you was a sensor-based data? Or it was a
It is
uh,
it is sensor based, I think, because cameras are involved, and nothing is manually digitized. It's all through the computers, and then it's all 3D modeling.
okay, okay. Deepan is asking one question. So, apart from the jobs and the roles in the field of sport, so as a sport analyst, apart from that, do we have other job roles? Like, do we have the job role with sports management
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
maybe
There are.
fan engagements?
So if you see a team, let's say a football team, you will have a team manager, you'll have coaches, you'll have analysts, and then you'll have psychologists, um, and then you'll have a kit man who takes care of all your kits, and then there'll be a venue operations guy, and then there'll be a transport sort of logistics guy. Uh, there'll be a physiotherapist, and then there'll be masseuse. Uh, so sport, like I mentioned, sport has become very professional. So in a football team, we go with around 21 staff. So if you see a tournament, we'll have 26 players and 21 number of staff. So yeah, there are lots of roles.
So, Aditya, I think he was trying to ask if I'm an analyst, apart from working as a sports analyst, which is specifically monitoring the performance of a player. Do analysts have other opportunities like? something like a sports management or maybe sponsorship management or
Okay.
marketing management.
So I think if you're in a amateur level or a semi-professional level, you may have to double up in your jobs. So sometimes you might have to be the team manager and the analyst. But then once you get to the professional levels, everyone has got their fixed roles. And it's only good for you that you don't do any other roles because it affects your actual job. As an analyst, you are the person in the team who works the longest hours. So I don't think you'll have time for other stuff unless you want to switch the field completely.
Okay, ठीक है. So Adit sir, I think we are done with the questions now. I leave you with your final words, and then we can close this session. So, do you have anything to share with our viewers?
Well, I don't have much to share. I think thank you for having me here, and all the people who've been here patiently listening to me for the last 1 hour. Thank you for your time. Uh, I really hope that at least some of you come into the sports field and make it big. Uh, One thing that I would suggest is uh, if you really want to be in the sports field, it is very new. So the earning potential at the start may not be there, or may not be as much as you expect from other domains. But then once you get into it, there are opportunities. You would come through. And to be honest, I think if you want to shine from an IT company, if you have to come shining, you either have to be Azim Premji or Narayan Murthy to be, I think that's the only names that I've heard from an IT field. But then I think sports is a field where you can make your name shine and come out very easily because it's still very new. But then invest the time, invest the energy, and believe in the process. And I would say these days, at least 10 years back, I didn't have any guidance. But then these days there are many people in the field who are happy to guide you. So take their guidance. You can even reach out to me on my LinkedIn, but please don't start your message saying, "Hey, bro, help me out," because I would possibly 200% of the time not reply back. Secondly, is one thing that puts me off is uh, I am passionate about sports. Can you help me being in the analytics field? Well, I think if you ask every kid on the street, he would love to play the sport. So if you want to be in the sports analytics and if you approach people, be very direct and be very precise as to what is that you want to learn from them. Don't go with any vague questions, or don't go with a very general question. Go with a very specific question that this is what you want the answer for. And I think a lot of people are there who will be happy to help you.
Okay. So I think we are now good to close this session. So it was a very nice and a very informative session with you, Sir Adit sir, and I hope my audience was able to get a good sense of what are the various roles and what are the various things that you will be required to do as a sports analyst, and who is actually, if you are looking to become a sports analyst, what are the different things that you are required to do. So thanks for taking your time and talking to us, Adit sir, and I'm I'm really grateful to you if you given 1 hour of your time to talk to us.
No
So thank
problem.
you,
It's
sir.
my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. And I think all of you would be eager to switch on the TVs and watch IPL.
Yeah,
So
correct.
have fun.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.